Summary of the novel The Three-Body Problem 2, The Dark Forest. In the opening chapter of the novel, a brown ant is depicted crawling over Yang Dong's tombstone, triggering a flashback to a past event. The previous book's protagonist, Yuanjie, and the new protagonist, Luo Ji, coincidentally meet at Yang Dong's grave. Luo Ji was Yang Dong's high school classmate. While he is highly intelligent, he lacks ambition. He previously worked in the field of astronomy, and has now shifted his focus to sociology. Yuanjie proposed the integration of these two fields to develop cosmosociology, and she introduced Luo Ji to two concepts within this discipline. First, survival is the primary need of civilization. Second, civilization continuously grows and expands, but the total matter in the universe remains constant. After uttering these words, Yuanjie hastily departed, muttering to herself, "I have fulfilled my duties." This event took place before Yuanjie's identity as the leader of the ETO was uncovered. Humanity is aware of the impending arrival of the Trisolarans in 400 years, and governments worldwide have entered a state of war preparedness. They are preparing to cooperate and defend their shared homeland, marking the beginning of an era of crisis. After the conversation at Yang Dong's grave, one day Luo Ji woke up in a hotel room only to forget the name of the person sleeping next to him. Luo Ji leads a romantic and carefree lifestyle, but it is abruptly disrupted by a car accident. As he was about to leave the hotel for dinner, a speeding car narrowly misses him, but tragically hits and kills his companion. Subsequently, Luo Ji finds himself detained by the police for investigation, and the person in charge of the investigation is Shi Chang. However, he was swiftly ushered onto a plane, accompanied by numerous bodyguards and fighter jets. During the flight, Luo Ji reminisced about a deeply memorable love affair involving the protagonist depicted in his novel. Upon landing at the United Nations building, he discovered that he had been invited to participate in a crucial strategy meeting against the Trisolarans. In this meeting, a significant counterattack strategy known as the Wallfacer Act was unveiled. The Wallfacer Act was created based on these two main pieces of information. 1. The Earth is completely transparent in front of the Trisolarans, and any communication meeting turns into a live broadcast. 2. The weakness of the Trisolarans is that they do not know how to lie. In their world, the word conspiracy does not exist. The core of the Wallfacer Act is to select the creators and leaders of strategic plans. They formulate plans completely according to their own thinking and do not communicate with the outside world. The real purpose and intent of the plan are hidden in their brains. What they show of their behaviors is to deceive the enemy, the Trisolarans. These four people are called Wallfacers. The Wallfacers have the greatest power to mobilize the Earth's resources. In short, they choose four liars to fool the Trisolarans. They are Frederick Taylor, the former U.S. Secretary of Defense, who has extensive experience in counterterrorism command. Manuel Rey Diaz, the president of Venezuela, was once sanctioned for developing nuclear weapons. Bill Hines, a scientist who was nominated for the double Nobel Prize for his outstanding achievements in the field of human brain structure and intellectual development. The fourth was Luo Ji, an ordinary Chinese sociologist. After Luo Ji heard his name, he almost fainted. The leaders of various countries and world-renowned figures looked at him in unison. Luo Ji was helped onto the rostrum. Luo Ji, whose mind was blank, only recovered after the meeting ended. He thought it was a mistake, constantly denying his identity as a Wallfacer to everyone. And everyone thought that he had already started acting. When he ran out of the conference alone, he was assassinated again by a sniper who shot him down. Good thing he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Luo Ji has been protected ever since. The implementation of the Wallfacer Act attracted the attention of the Trisolarans, prompting them to intensify their surveillance efforts. In a particular basement, a surviving member of the ETO, who was on the verge of committing suicide with a gun, suddenly received a communication from the Trisolarans. As only humans can comprehend human schematics, the Trisolarans reactivated the ETO organization and devised a plan to undermine the Wallfacer Act. Within the three-body game world, the remaining members of the ETO held a meeting and selected 3 individuals as wall breakers to counteract the first 3 Wallfacers. However, Luo Ji was excluded from having a wall breaker assigned to him since he would be directly facing the Trisolarans. The only role ETO could assign to Luo Ji was to fulfill the mission of assassinating him. This information about the Trisolarans' desire to assassinate Luo Ji was obtained by an ETO scout, and to conceal this fact, the city witnessed 51 accidents on the same day, a ploy orchestrated by the Trisolarans, who feared Luo Ji's capabilities. Despite having a professional and academic identity that paled in comparison to the other Wallfacers, Luo Ji was chosen as a Wallfacer due to these circumstances. After recovering from his injury, Luo Ji came to the realization that he couldn't escape his identity as a Wallfacer. Instead, he decided to embrace it. He applied to the United Nations and was granted a luxurious mansion nestled amid snow-capped mountains and a picturesque lake, a true paradise. Shi Chang, true to his word, promised to help Luo Ji find the perfect girl from his novel in the real world. All Luo Ji had to say was, "This is part of the Wallfacer Act," and all his desires would be fulfilled. A few days later, the girl of his dreams, Zhuang Yan, descended into his life. Zhuang Yan, a graduate of the Central Academy of Fine Arts, became the focus of Luo Ji's Wallfacer Act. He dedicated himself to making Zhuang Yan the happiest girl in the world. Their love blossomed in the presence of the enigmatic Mona Lisa's smile as they visited the Louvre together. Finally, Luo Ji succeeded in breaking free from his single life and expressed his gratitude to Shi Chang for making it possible. However, due to the nuclear radiation Shi Chang had been exposed to during the arrest of the ETO organization, Shi Chang had already developed leukemia. Faced with his deteriorating health, Shi Chang placed his hopes on future medical advancements and chose to enter artificial hibernation. Compared to Luo Ji's rebelliousness, the other three Wallfacers were working hard to further their plans. Diaz is making unremitting efforts to create a giant nuclear bomb with a yield of 200 million tons. During a nuclear test, he suffered from a strange phobia, fearing the sun. He never again dared to look directly at the sun. Frederick Tyler, another Wallfacer, embarked on a mission to collect the raw material known as the macro core to create ball lightning. Simultaneously, he traveled to various parts of the world, including Japan, China, and even Afghanistan. His objective was to form a space kamikaze team with the intention of launching suicide attacks on Trisolaran ships, taking advantage of the close-range attack capabilities of ball lightning. However, his hopes of forming such a team and executing the planned attacks were ultimately dashed. Bill Hines, with the help of his wife, Keiko Yamasuji, focuses on improving human intelligence. He hopes to connect the human brain with the computer directly. In the next 2 centuries, the 2-million-year evolution of the human brain will be completed. At the same time, the people of Earth were engaged in various other efforts, not just the active Wallfacer, and various countries have formed their own space forces. Zhang Beihai, a former political commissar of the Chinese Navy aircraft carrier, Tang, was among the early members of the Chinese Space Force. Recognized for his unwavering determination and victorious mindset, General Chang Weisi appointed him as the leader of the future political task force. Zhang Beihai's primary responsibility was to prevent any potential defeatism within the future space fleet. This appointment reflects the importance placed on maintaining morale and ensuring a resolute mindset within the space forces, as they prepared to confront the challenges posed by the Trisolaran threat. Soon after, the Hubble 2 space telescope discovered traces of the Trisolaran's fleet passing through the interstellar dust cloud, further confirming the fact that the Trisolaran's civilization is encroaching on Earth's civilization. The discovery amplified the urgency and gravity of the situation, solidifying the need for concerted efforts and strategic planning to counter the impending Trisolaran invasion. 5 years had passed, and amidst the chaos of the world, Luo Ji found solace in a tranquil haven. In that Garden of Eden, he married Zhuang Yan and they were blessed with a daughter. However, their peaceful existence was soon disrupted by the unexpected visit of another Wallfacer. It was Frederick Tyler. He told Luo Ji about his nightmarish experience. One fateful day, a humble and strange servant came to Frederick Tyler's basement and brought him a devilish greeting. "Frederick Tyler, I am your wall breaker." The wall breaker relentlessly discredits Taylor's entire plan. That's Space Pearl Harbor. On the surface, Frederick Tyler wanted to form a space force with ball lightning and macro-nuclear fusion as its main weapon. And so, he travels the world, searching for the spirit of self-sacrifice that remains in human society. In fact, the true objective of this military death squad is not to assault the Trisolarans, but rather the primary fleet on Earth. When the human fleet is ready, the military death squads carrying quantum weapons will launch a suicide attack on the human fleet. In the Blue Blast, Frederick Tyler will gain a ghostly quantum space army, blocking the only path for the Trisolaran fleet. Wallbreaker eventually told Frederick Tyler that even if all his plans come to fruition, the Trisolarans don't care about this fleet of quantum states. The revelation of the plan and the contempt of the Trisolarans sent Frederick Tyler into utter despair. The night after confiding in Luo Ji, Taylor shot himself by the side of the lake. Frederick Tyler's suicide led the PDC, Planetary Defense Council, to urgently call a hearing. At the meeting, Diaz and Bill Hines respectively explained the progress of their plans. The two then decided to go into artificial hibernation to wait for the technology to meet their planning needs. Luo Ji's good days are coming to an end. The world government secretly put his wife and daughter into artificial hibernation to force Luo Ji to do something, since he was the only human the Trisolarans wanted to kill. Luo Ji, who lost his wife and daughter, began to take on the responsibility of a Wallfacer. Under the dark starry sky, Luo Ji walked on the ice of the lake. He began to think repeatedly, the conversation he had with Yi Wenjie in front of Yang Dong's grave. Those are two axioms. First, survival is the primary need of civilization. Second, civilization continuously grows and expands, but the total matter in the universe remains constant. And two crucial concepts, chain of suspicion, When two unfamiliar civilizations become aware of each other's existence, neither can ascertain the intentions, whether good or evil, of the other. As a result, both parties inevitably become trapped in an endless cycle of mutual suspicion. Technological explosion. Throughout the development of each civilization, there is the potential for rapid and significant technological advancements. As a result, a less advanced civilization has the possibility of surpassing a more advanced one within a short period of time through a technological explosion. Just as his thoughts grew stagnant, the ice beneath Luo Ji's feet unexpectedly shattered, plunging him into the frigid waters of the lake. In the cold darkness, reminiscent of the vast expanse of space, it appeared as though he glimpsed the truth of the universe. Luo Ji, who narrowly escaped death, went up to the lake and said to himself, "Luo Ji the Wallfacer, I am your wall breaker." The next day, Luo Ji left the Garden of Eden. Back in China, in an underground bunker, he formulated his own Wallfacer plan. At the PDC, Planetary Defense Council, meeting, Luo Ji announced a plan, the Curse of the Stars. The plan involved harnessing the amplified power of the sun to project a mystical spell into outer space. The spell consisted of 3 drawings, each containing coordinates that pinpointed a star located 50 light-years away from the solar system. Just when everyone was baffled by the plan, Luo Ji became the target of a deadly weapon known as a gene missile, which targeted his genetic makeup, causing instant and severe illness. Afflicted by the influenza virus, specifically engineered to corrupt one's genetic code and induce malevolence, Luo Ji's health deteriorated rapidly. In a race against time, he was placed into artificial hibernation to save his life. Simultaneously, as the spell was cast into space, the Trisolaran fleet dispatched 10 small probes, hurtling towards Earth, marking a critical juncture in the ongoing conflict between humanity and the Trisolarans. 4 years later, it was time for Zhang Beihai, the future captain of the political and industrial army, to hibernate. But he has another concern that needs to be resolved. Zhang Beihai, who had discussed energy issues many times with the scientist Ding Yi, clearly realized that an interstellar fleet must be powered by radiation to meet the needs of the expeditions. Worryingly, the Voice in Space Systems is urging the use of traditional rocket propulsion. To remove obstacles and use propellant-free controllable nuclear fusion, Zhang Beihai used homemade iron meteorite bullets, disguised as a meteor shower, and calmly shot and killed 3 old-school aerospace authorities in space. In this way, Zhang Beihai, who secured the research direction of the future fleet, led the political working group into artificial hibernation to support the future. 4 years later, Ray Diaz and Bill Hines, the 2 Wallfacers, were awakened from their artificial hibernation. Upon awakening, Bill Hines was introduced to the remarkable results of his wife Keiko Yamasuji's research conducted over the past 8 years. She had developed a groundbreaking holographic human brain imaging computer capable of simulating brain activity. In subsequent experiments utilizing the device, Bill Hines stumbled upon a startling discovery: the ability to imprint thoughts into a person's mind. Through precise scanning of specific neural pathways, the supercomputer could register false propositions in the subject's brain, leading them to firmly believe in the implanted idea. For instance, by registering the belief that water is poisonous in the experimenter's brain, the subject gradually develops an aversion to drinking water. This newfound ability to manipulate beliefs and perceptions held immense potential, offering a powerful tool in shaping human behavior and decision-making. After intense debates within the Planetary Defense Council, PDC, the General Assembly finally reached a consensus. They agreed that, under strict supervision, members of the Space Force could voluntarily adopt the ideological cornerstone of human victory. This decision led to the formation of a group within the Space Forces who firmly believed in the ultimate triumph of humanity. With this satisfactory result, Bill Hines and his wife went back into hibernation, but at the final moment when Keiko Yamasuji's consciousness was frozen, it seemed like she remembered something, but she was already frozen and unable to awaken. Meanwhile, the investigation into Ray Diaz's nuclear bomb project also yielded significant results. Humanity successfully created the first stellar hydrogen bomb and carried out a successful detonation on the surface of Mercury. The immense power unleashed during the explosion resulted in scattered rocks forming a radiant ring encircling Mercury's orbit. This extraordinary display of power sent shockwaves throughout the world, showcasing the remarkable achievements of mankind's technological prowess. Heads of state have called to invite him, urging the sharing of nuclear bomb technology as soon as possible. And among the many phone calls, there was an uninvited psychiatrist. He claims that he can cure Ray Diaz's non-existent heliophobia. He is Ray Diaz's wall breaker. In Ray Diaz's wall breaker narrative, the truth about Ray Diaz's plan was revealed layer by layer. It turns out that Ray Diaz's true intention was not to use nuclear bombs for direct attacks. Instead, he devised a plan to alter the trajectory of Mercury, using the immense power of 1,000,000 giant hydrogen bombs. The objective was to gradually bring Mercury closer to the Sun, causing a series of cataclysmic events that would ultimately engulf the entire solar system. Ray Diaz believed that by transforming the solar system into a hostile and inhospitable environment, it would deter the Trisolaran civilization from invading Earth. Despite this, Wallbreaker eventually told Ray Diaz, first, even if Earth's resources run out, human beings won't be able to build millions of star-level hydrogen bombs either. Second, no amount of hydrogen bombs will slow Mercury down. Therefore, like Frederick Tyler's plan, the Trisolaran civilization does not care about their threats. Ray Diaz, whose plan was exposed, furiously strangled the Wallbreaker's neck, until the guards came in and separated the two. The Wallbreaker also posted the information on the internet, and humans all over the world strongly opposed Ray Diaz's plan. He will face a court-martial for crimes against humanity. In the court, Ray Diaz suddenly raised a hand in the air. Everyone noticed a watch-like device on his wrist. It was a cradle system. This is a signal transmitter linked to Ray Diaz's vitals. Ray Diaz claimed that he was connected to a nuclear bomb planted in downtown New York. Like a baby's cradle, once Ray Diaz's heart stops beating, the nuke baby on the other end will wake up. All 8.2 million New York City residents will be buried with him. In this way, Ray Diaz returned home on a special plane. On the plane, Ray Diaz calmly removed the transmitter from his wrist and handed it over to the accompanying UN president. It was then revealed that the so-called cradle system was nothing more than an elaborate escape plan devised by Ray Diaz. Ray Diaz, back in his homeland, opens his arms to his people. However, what he received from him was, in fact, countless hate stones. The people hated his plan to destroy the world. The Wallfacer Ray Diaz was buried under the torrential rain of angry stones. 185 years later, Luo Ji woke up from his hibernation and found that the people around him were full of confidence. In this era, people's genes are gradually evolving, and there are handsome men and beautiful women everywhere. Humans have mastered two technologies: controllable nuclear fusion. The emergence of this technology has completely solved the energy problem of human beings. Oil power has been eliminated. In this era, there is no concept of saving electricity and water. The other is genetic modification technology, which completely solves the food problem. What surprised Luo Ji even more was the current political situation. The current human world is divided into two parts. One side is Earth International, which continues the traditional concept of a country, and the land is the pillar. The other side is Fleet International, which is made up of the three main fleets from Europe, Asia, and North America, and takes space as its territory. The latter has a total of 2,000 interstellar warships that can reach 15% of the speed of light. This number is more than double that of the Trisolaran fleet. With such spatial force, the new generation of Earthlings will be able to sweep away the despair of 2 centuries ago. He exhibited great confidence for the battle at the end of the world. The Wallfacer Act was abolished long ago, and the spell sent into space by Luo Ji was treated as a joke. The rebel organization that sought to have the Trisolarians occupy the Earth was eradicated a century ago. Luo Ji, who came to the new century, recognized his friend Shi Chang, who also recovered from health. Luo Ji was invited to attend the final Wallfacer Act hologram hearing. Here he met the Heinz couple who also woke up. During this conference, the attending delegates unanimously discredited and terminated the Act Wallfacers, an initiative that had lasted for 205 years. Luo Ji had regained his civilian status, withdrew from the teleconference. Just as everyone was about to get up and leave the place, Keiko Yamasuji suddenly said something that made the air freeze. "Bill Heinz the Wallfacer, I am your wall breaker." As Heinz's wife, Keiko exposes her husband's plan. She pointed out that, like a successful defeatist in disguise, Bill Heinz manipulated the supercomputer's mathematical model by reversing the order of plus and minus signs, implying those space forces that has enrolled in an ideological cornerstone where their faith is not about winning but rather about defeatism. Upon hearing this, the audience fell into a deathly silence as the exact scene where Ray Diaz raised the cradle bracelet unfolded before them. The Space Force initiated an investigation into these branded humans who held the belief that humanity was destined for defeat. Shortly thereafter, Keiko Yamasuji committed harakiri, and no punitive action was taken against Bill Heinz. After the conference, Luo Ji found himself confronting the latest assassination plan orchestrated by ETO a century ago, the killer virus. The digital virus that Luo Ji designated as the target resulted in numerous murders, including a high-speed car accident, the collapse of a manhole cover on the highway, the downfall of an electronic billboard, the killing of a waiter robot, the administration of a poisonous pill, and the disabling of a deformed chair. But Luo Ji escaped one by one with the help of Shi Chang, and then the virus is eliminated. The next day, Luo Ji followed Shi Chang and his son to the surface world where most of the revived hibernators live. In the narration of The Neighbors, Luo Ji learned of a tragic history of mankind. The Great Depression era, 20 years after Luo Ji entered hibernation, the world descended into an economic crisis and widespread famine. Humanity, in its self-destructive nature, ceased to view Earth as its homeland and instead engaged in resistance against environmental protection while turning on one another. The rapid advancement of industry, along with high pollution, abnormal climate patterns, and global desertification, exacerbated the dire situation. During the half-century depression, only 3.5 billion individuals survived out of the original population of 8.3 billion. Eventually, the suffering people started to grasp the importance of living in the present rather than enduring an impending doomsday. From this realization, a famous and impactful saying emerged. Make time for civilization, for civilization won't make time. The liberation of human nature sparked rapid technological advancements. Half a century later, humanity commenced the formation of space fleets, marking a pivotal stage that led to the establishment of a new political structure. On the other hand, the future commanders of the Space Force reinforcements are awakened. Due to the deeply hidden nature of some defeatists, this group of awakened officers, including Zhang Beihai, were appointed as executive captains. Zhang Beihai boarded the ship Natural Selection, where he encountered a captain named Dong Fangyanxiu, a beautiful young woman. She handed Zhang Beihai a gun and told him, "If you discover any trace of defeatist thoughts in me, you can use this gun to kill me." During his time on the ship, Zhang Beihai learned that when the spacecraft reaches its highest propulsion power known as forward 4, it can achieve maximum flight speed. To accommodate the additional weight brought by the propulsion system, each compartment is filled with a liquid called deep sea acceleration fluid, allowing the crew to breathe directly into it. In a short time, humans discovered the arrival of a Trisolarans probe within the solar system. Considering the delicate balance of political interests among all parties involved and to showcase the strength of the human space force, the international fleet made the decision to mobilize all interstellar warships. These ships were assembled to form a unified fleet, aimed at launching a joint attack on the Trisolarans probe. Before the expedition, Zhang Beihai and Dong Fangyanxiu handed over the management rights. This very moment, an amazing plan that had been hidden for 2 centuries. Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Beihai reset the password, effectively cutting off communication within the spacecraft, and initiated the immediate activation of the forward 4 acceleration mode. Captain Dong Fangyanxiu, locked out of the cockpit, found herself in a state of helplessness. In this manner, Executive Captain Zhang Beihai hijacked the ship Natural Selection, driven by the deeply ingrained belief in humanity's inevitable defeat inherited from his father, who had experienced the war of technological disparities. Zhang Beihai didn't take the imprint thoughts. He is a natural defeatist in the face of the final battle with the Trisolarans, so he escaped into outer space. More than 2,000 crew members who were taken as hostage were forced to submerge the deep sea acceleration fluid. When Natural Selection, escape behavior was discovered, the Asian fleet sent 4 interstellar spaceships to hunt down and intercept it. The defection incident had little impact, and humans greeted the arrival of the probe with a sense of festivity. The formidable human fleet embarked from Jupiter, showcasing the indomitable strength and dignity of humanity. On the Quantum ship, the elderly scientist Ding Yi, who had also journeyed into the future, gazed out the window and was chosen as the first human to inspect the Trisolarans probe. As the fleet hovered before the probe, the world caught its initial glimpse of this enigmatic entity. The entire world became enthralled by its exquisite form, and people passionately likened it to a droplet of water. The human fleet beheld the droplet, mesmerized by its flawless contours and unparalleled sleekness. It seemed to float like a drop of mercury amidst the vast universe, resembling a dolphin leaping out of the sea of dreams, encapsulating true beauty for the entire solar system to behold. It is this kind of beauty that makes Ding Yi feel a little afraid of the unknown. Therefore, before going out to observe, Ding Yi suggested that the quantum ship enter the deep sea acceleration state. The captured droplet of water remained intact within the small mantis trap, showing no signs of leakage or explosive behavior. It sat in quiet anticipation as the 4-person team, including Ding Yi and representatives from the international fleet, prepared to become the first observers. Scientist Ding Yi stepped forward, approaching the droplet with great care, and noticed that its surface was remarkably smooth. As he examined the surface of the water droplet under a microscope, Ding Yi experienced a profound sense of terror. Regardless of the level of magnification, be it 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 1,000,000 times, or even 10 million times, the surface of the water droplet remained incredibly smooth, akin to a flawless mirror. Scientist Ding Yi finally comprehended that the molecular structure of the water droplet was held together by immensely strong interaction forces that operated across vast distances within the nucleus. These forces even caused the molecular vibrations themselves to vanish. Consequently, the surface of the water droplet maintained an absolute zero temperature. This realization represented the power that Ding Yi had yearned for throughout his entire life. It is a microscopic world beyond the reach of human beings. The force of this droplet is 100 times greater than the strongest matter in the solar system. For the droplet going through the Earth would be as effortless as a bullet piercing through cheese, leaving no harm in its wake. Ding Yi then cried out in despair, "Silly children, run!" But it was too late. The droplet interfered with the signal, the mantis's image was distorted and disappeared. No one heard the scream, and an outward expanding halo began to appear on the tail of the droplet. Simultaneously, due to the extreme temperatures resembling the core of the sun, the 4 members of the expedition team were instantaneously vaporized. In that same moment, the Mantis's hull also dissolved and liquefied, akin to a melting candle. Unnoticed by anyone, the droplet of water propelled itself towards the fleet. Without decelerating, it executed a precise 30-degree turn in space and made a beeline towards the Infinite Frontier ship. Moving at a velocity twice as much as the third universe, it passed through the ship, following the extension line, and pierced through the entire first row of spaceships. At each impact point, it precisely targeted and locked onto the fusion fuel capsules. The thermonuclear explosions unleashed a series of fireballs that materialized one by one across the First Fleet. A deluge of molten metallic magma rained down upon the cosmos. In this manner, the droplet of water traversed a distance of 2,000 kilometers in a mere 1 minute and 18 seconds, covering an astonishing amount of ground in a remarkably short span of time. Immediately after a small deceleration, the droplet executed yet another inexplicable sharp turn, defying human understanding of astrodynamics, and dove into the second row of ships. 100 ships erupted like synchronized firecrackers, all detonating within a single minute. As the third row of ships also succumbed to explosions, the fleet began to scatter, preparing to escape. Unaware of the cause behind the devastation, they knew they had to flee in the face of continued explosions. During the dispersal process, some ships encountered the water droplet and launched counterattacks, but their shells had no effect, merely causing a slight delay in its progress. Driven by the accelerated spaceships, numerous crew members who failed to enter the deep-sea state in time experienced catastrophic blood vessel ruptures due to extreme acceleration. Their bodies were compressed into a grotesque mass, their internal organs and bones crushed, and the entire cabin became embedded in a ghastly crystal of human blood. Amidst the remnants of the fleet, a metallic cloud formed, and the droplet, moving at a speed 10 times that of the universe, engaged in mindless slaughter. With the exception of the Quantum and Bronze Age ships, which had entered the deep-sea state early based on Ding Yi's recommendation, all other vessels were destroyed. The human fleet was decimated. Thus, the only remnants remaining were the Trisolaran's probe, the droplet, which had eliminated all human space power, and the method employed to achieve this outcome was the most primitive and brutal of all: sheer impact. This marked the conclusion of the war that brought about the end of the world. The story highlights the futility of engaging in a conflict between civilizations with a substantial technological disparity. Zhang Beihai, inheriting his father's beliefs, recognizes the vast superiority of Trisolaran's technology over that of humanity. It serves as a reminder that when confronted with such an overwhelming technological gap, attempting to resist or fight against a more advanced civilization may prove futile and potentially catastrophic. Amidst the destruction and annihilation of the human fleet, only 2 ships managed to escape the devastating battle. The Quantum ship and the Bronze Age, and the ship Natural Selection, which was fleeing in an opposite direction of the war, kidnapped by Zhang Beihai as its captain, and the 4 warships that were chasing it: Blue Space, Enterprise, Shukom, and Supreme Law. Zhang Beihai woke up from a coma. He is prepared to face the angry crewmen. However, when he stepped out of the spherical cabin, what greeted him was not anger, but revered military might. Due to his decision, Natural Selection, and the 4 chasing spaceships escaped the Doomsday Battle between humans and the droplet. He has left a trail of fire for the civilization of Earth. All the members of the 5 Navis met and named this new world aboard the spaceship Starship Earth. Together they formulated laws and discussed new social forms. It is hoped that human civilization can continue, but the good times do not last long. When the crew realized that they would be like broken kites and be homeless forever, the psychological imbalances began to spread. The mental breakdown caused the members to kill their roommates one after another. One captain even shot himself. Desperate darkness spread in the fleet, and then everyone realized even more horribly that for any spacecraft, with current supplies and fuel, it is far from enough to reach the nearest supply galaxy. Thus, the chain of suspicion leads to devilish thoughts. That is, use the infrasonic hydrogen bomb weapon equipped with each spaceship to end the lives of the companions and loot their resources. Dong Fan Yanxiu and the others were at a loss and rushed to inform the spiritual leader Zhang Beihai about the situation. But when they arrived, Zhang Beihai had already activated the infrasonic hydrogen bomb delivery system. He is willing to play the role of the devil instead of the whole crew as a father. However, just as he was about to press the launch button, an alarm sounded like howling ghosts in Natural Selection. They were attacked by a neighboring ship. Zhang Beihai stopped casting and said meaningfully, "It doesn't matter, it's the same." Instantly the Natural Selection crew, under attack by infrasonic hydrogen bombs, were killed. It was the Supreme Law ship that launched the attack. The ship also sent infrasonic hydrogen bombs to other ships, but the Supreme Law ship did not become a survivor. The Blue Space, which had been prepared a long time ago, drained the air from the ship. Without air, the infrasonic hydrogen bomb would have no effect. Blue Space immediately counterattacked, attacking the Supreme Law with all weapons, and the Supreme Law was destroyed. At this time, the 2 ships at the other end of space also had a dark battle between the Quantum ship and the Bronze Age ship, The winner was the Bronze Age ship. The two ships then began to clear the battlefield. They took all the things they could carry, held a solemn space funeral for the dead, and flew to a distant place. They carry all the thoughts and memories of human beings, embrace all the glory and dreams of the earth, and silently disappeared into the eternal night. After the war, upon witnessing the ships exploding like firecrackers, everyone collapsed in an instant. Human beings began to fall into despair, with continuous suicides and the vast majority of people paralyzing themselves through debauchery. Despair filled the world, permeating every corner of society. This dark battle between the blue spaceships and others made Luo Ji feel even more confident in his inner understanding. From this realization, he deduced that the droplet, which arrived with such incredible speed, might have been sent to fulfill the mission of killing him. To avoid causing harm to innocent people, Luo Ji made the decision to leave the city and ventured into a U-shaped valley. In a dramatic turn of events, the droplet that descended upon the city soared above the skyline, reaching the very apex of the sky where Luo Ji stood. However, rather than launching an attack against Luo Ji, it abruptly changed its course and began emitting powerful electromagnetic waves directed towards the sun. With a relieved smile, Luo Ji finally understood that the droplet had no intention of harming him. Its purpose was simply to block the sun, rendering human communication with outer space impossible due to the intense electromagnetic waves emitted. In that moment, Shi Chang arrived, and together they made their way back to the city. On the way back, the car was suddenly blocked by a dense crowd. They called Luo Ji as the savior and knelt in front of the car to pray. Two people came out of the crowd, and one of them was Bill Hines, who told Luo Ji that the Wallfacer act had reactivated. You are the only Wallfacer, because the star you marked has been destroyed for a long time, only people didn't take the importance of it. At this moment, everyone was listening to Luo Ji's voice. Luo Ji demanded the restoration of order in the city and dispersed the crowd. Under the silent night sky, only Luo Ji and Shi Chang remained. They arrived at a sandy spot and lit cigarettes. Here, Luo Ji explained to the astonished Shi Chang why the spell to the star would work. He proposed the law of the dark forest. First, the total mass of the universe is constant, but there are countless planets in the universe. Life grows exponentially. So the universe is a life or death situation, either you die or I die. Under such tough competition, the gain of one party will inevitably mean the loss of the other party, and there is no possibility of cooperation between the two parties. That means the future of a civilization is constructed upon the suffering of other civilizations, and survival can only be achieved at the expense of others. The outcome is a scenario where one side consumes the other. Therefore, every civilization must fight for its survival, and even a seemingly weak civilization can rapidly advance in technology. From the standpoint of human civilization, our progression from apes to the present has occurred in an instant. However, in the grand scale of the universe, this leads to perpetual mistrust among civilizations over time, with each contemplating whether they will be targeted for annihilation and resource acquisition. This approach of perpetuating a cycle of suspicion will only cease when one of the parties is eradicated. Consequently, to prevent other civilizations from exploiting technology and competing with themselves for resources in the future, so the safest course of action is once a civilization has been identified, is to eliminate it directly if it can be accomplished. The universe is akin to a dark forest, where every civilization assumes the role of a hunter armed with a gun, stealthily navigating through the dense foliage, even treading cautiously with each breath. One must exercise utmost care, for the forest teems with hunters who are equally cunning. Upon encountering another life, regardless of whether they too are hunters, there is only one course of action: to aim, shoot, and destroy. In this forest, others are synonymous with hell, an eternal peril. Any life that reveals its existence will swiftly be eradicated. This is the image of cosmic civilization. This is the explanation of the Fermi paradox. Luo Ji's spell can be seen as marking a certain tree in the dark forest, indicating the presence of a civilization. In this analogy, other hunters, representing advanced civilizations, would see this mark as a potential threat and consider it the safest course of action to eliminate that marked area before it poses a risk to their own survival. This is because, in the dark forest scenario, attacking and eliminating other civilizations is seen as advantageous and a means to secure resources and ensure one's own survival. However, the situation changed when the droplet disrupted the sun's signal, preventing Luo Ji from casting further spells. Everyone was aware that the Trisolaran fleet will arrive soon, and the end of the Earth is truly drawing near. After the aforementioned conversation, Luo Ji found himself once again summoned to a hearing. In this hearing, the conference representatives resorted to a disturbing tactic by threatening to harm Luo Ji's wife and daughter. Their aim was to exploit Luo Ji's reputation as a savior and leverage his influence to push forward an incredibly costly project known as the Snowfield Project. To track the other 9 droplets that will arrive 3 years later, the PDC, Planetary Defense Council, will use the stellar hydrogen bomb and oil film material from Neptune to create a cloud of space dust, so that when the droplets pass through this cloud, they will be like stepping on the snow that usually leaves footprints, hence the name of the project. To escape from reality, Luo Ji dedicated himself to the Snowfield project. When all of humanity found out that the savior was forced to complete a simple detection mission. But when he was unable to come up with a new plan, Luo Ji gradually changed from a savior to an ordinary person in the eyes of the public. People even thought that the star explosion was just an accidental hoax, and Luo Ji was a liar. Falling into decay and disease, Luo Ji was abandoned by everyone. He loaded a sapper's shovel on his back and went to the tombstones of Yang Dong and Yi Wenjie, where he dug his own grave. In the last moment of his life, Luo Ji suddenly raised his left hand and whispered, "I want to talk to the Trisolaran civilization." It turned out that in his hands he had a crib system similar to Ray Diaz back then. One end was connected to Luo Ji's heart, and the other end consisted of the 3,614 nuclear bombs that the Snowfield project had put into orbit around the sun over the past 2 years. If his heartbeat were to stop and the nuclear bombs were detonated, the sun would be enveloped in interstellar dust of oil film material. The sun, hidden beneath the cloud cover, would intermittently appear and disappear, emitting a continuous shining light. It would serve as a beacon, marking Trisolarana's position in the entire universe. Yes, Luo Ji had deceived everyone. Along with the narration, Luo Ji weakly raised a gun, put it to his chin, and said to the Trisolaran world, which has looked down on human beings for 2 centuries, "I'll give you 30 seconds. Soon, 3 spheres appeared in the sky before Luo Ji's eyes, and they all displayed the word, "Stop." Facing the deployed Saohan, Luo Ji made 3 demands. 1. The drop of water must stop emitting electromagnetic waves to the sun. 2. The other drops of water must leave the solar system. 3. The Trisolaran fleet immediately turns around. It is not allowed to cross the Oort cloud, not even half a step. Although the third condition implies that the Trisolaran fleet enters an exile survival stalemate, in the face of the radiant sun, the Trisolarians are not qualified to negotiate. After agreeing to assist humans in constructing a giant antenna capable of casting spells at any time, Luo Ji concluded the negotiation with a victorious nod, thus saving all of humanity. At that moment, atop Yang Dong's tombstone, 2 centuries later, another small and proudly waved its 2 tentacles towards the sun. 5 years later, at sunset, Luo Ji's family found themselves beneath the giant antenna, relishing a peaceful life. It was then that Trisolaran 1379, whom he had granted freedom to witness the demise of humanity, employed Saohan to communicate with Luo Ji. Amidst the radiance of the Earth's fading sun, Trisolarian 1379 inquired of Luo Ji, "Doesn't your daughter fear the darkness of the setting sun?" Luo Ji smiled and responded, "No, for she knows that the sun will rise again tomorrow." The end, the memory of Earth's past, the 3-body problem 2. Dark Forest.